Hey guys, Kuzma back in another video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys more drawings from the 2-year period where I had the biggest art growth of pretty much my life at that period of time that brought me to being the artist I am today, really. And this is kind of a spin-off of a lot of other videos I've done where I've shown you guys sketchbooks during that time period where I was doing the most practices and basically what practices I did to get so good in only about 2 years. And yeah, pretty much it was a time during my life where it completely changed my perception of where I was going in art. But yeah, for those of you who saw the videos, you guys kind of see where this is going. And for those of you who are new here, you guys get to experience somewhat of a similar vibe of what those videos held. And for those of you who watched the other videos, I showed you guys the sketchbooks, and I've also mentioned in those videos that basically the sketchbooks weren't the only practices I did. I did a bunch of other ones, and this is a showcase of some of those other ones. And a good example that you don't necessarily have to have a sketchbook to do this. But anyways, let's get into it. It's from January to July of 2018, and let's get into it. So this is going to be really exciting. So this is a bunch of printer paper, as you can see, kind of rough and stuff like that. Coffee spilt on it, but I'm really excited about this because this is I remember this period very well. I remember the vibe and everything with a lot of these pages, but let's just jump into it now. So as you can see, I'm doing a bunch of perspective. This is like a few months, year into the practice I did. If you guys want to see more of the earlier practices, you guys can go and check out my other sketchbook tour videos that kind of show you the beginning part of this. So this is me really just cramming as much as I can into these pages. As you can see, just a bunch of crap on it too, but and just printer paper, doesn't matter. If you're practicing, you're practicing. Sketchbooks are nice for the fact that they can kind of encapsulate a period of time as long as you keep drawing in that one sketchbook, and it's all in one place and you can kind of just slip it somewhere. This is kind of loosely flying around unless you have folders, but yeah. And yeah, as you can see, I'm trying out different perspectives. I remember this very well because, as you can see, I always say if there's a bunch of sketchy lines, that means you don't know what you're doing. I didn't know what I was doing here, and I was trying to figure out stuff. This is a study, this is a study. There's a lot of studies here. This is a study, and I'm basically trying to figure out how these people are doing this stuff. And I just draw a lot. I don't know what all this writing here is, but you can see a lot of it are scribbles. This one specifically is kind of funny because this is me trying to learn how to draw with my left hand, because my right hand started to feel really, really bad at that period of time. This is the beginning of me being able to feel the carpal tunnel coming on that I have, and I started trying to draw with my left hand. Little did I know, my left hand had worse carpal tunnel than my right, so I ended up giving up on that. Random piece of blank paper, I'll save that. More drawings here, of course. What else am I going to be showing you guys? But more perspective, bunch of boxes. This is very light pencil. I actually don't like this pencil. I accidentally bought this lead, and yeah, I didn't like that lead. So I also I remember doing this. This was very fun. I kind of imagined myself behind my desk, and I was just sitting at my desk, and I drew my desk at that time. My desk is in a different spot now, but still in the same apartment. As you can see, I was experimenting with perspective, and I actually talked about this recently in one of my Patreon videos. I was doing a kind of advanced perspective. Advanced, but also still doing only 1 to 2 point because there's so much to cover in it. But when you put your perspectives, your 2-point perspectives really close together, what does it do? And it creates this very warped sense. It's like intentionally warping your environment. And yeah, this is where I was experimenting with that to see what it does. And this is me experimenting, doing a lot of practicing and studying. Just like before, this is actually a storyboard. Small little storyboard of Ordinal Tempest that I wanted to do a quick thumbnail of, and it worked out. And that was actually the beginning stages of me starting to ink directly off of my storyboard pages instead of doing a storyboard, then a manuscript. So that was the birth of that. A lot of permanent marker stuff. What I was doing here was actually sketching stuff out, and then I was doing a quick sketch and then I'll go over it with permanent marker. And it was just kind of eliminating random lines that I didn't need, because if you had really thick lines, you can only make that thick line. You can do a bunch of small lines. This is fun to do. This is just like a sketch, ink, and then shade with pencil. We're going to kind of move on here and just kind of go fast showing you guys this stuff. And this is, as you can see, a big portion of my perspective practice, and just starting to try to put people in simplified shapes. Mr. Rude here, jeez. No, okay. I liked this one at the time. I was really happy. You can kind of see, I think this is mostly in order, I'm not sure, but this is when I started trying to put more clothes on them. Because, you know, there's a huge period of time where you might just be doing a bunch of practicing. And one thing you want to be aware of and watch out not to fall into a trap of is falling into the trap of only practicing and not actually drawing at all. And it's good to do a bunch of practicing in one period of time. If that's all you're doing, that's fine. But you want to remember to take a second to go and draw here and there. Because if you only do practices, it might have you fall into that only practice kind of thing. And that's happened to me quite frequently. And then I never finish any projects or illustrations. And it's a real thing, I'm telling you. And yeah, more perspective. You can see me doing a few skulls here and there. This is me trying to learn the perspective of skulls. Oh, here's more of them. This is when I started learning that skulls are actually very important to understanding the underlying structure of a face, even if it's an anime face. And you don't have to learn all of anatomy. I've mentioned this before too. You don't have to learn all of anatomy, but there are specific things that really help, where you can see the eye sockets here and you can kind of see where they would lie here and why the eyebrows might lie on the top of the eye socket. And there's things like that that I started learning. This is me trying out brush pen. Didn't work out very well, to be honest. But it is what it is. This is me. So if you see a bunch of these random circles and stuff, it might have been my first page of the day. And what that does is basically warms up your hand. It gets the circles going. It gets your hand. It gets you used to doing some of your first lines of the day, basically. This is me trying to simplify my lines, get my lines down to very few, so it's easier to memorize something when it has less lines. So instead of petting it and keep on just doing basically a bunch of sketch lines, will be harder to memorize than one accurate line. This is me putting everything in perspective. I believe that's actually in a live stream. I did that in a live stream a long time ago on this main channel that this is on. A little bit less stuff on this. I think the earlier pages might have been newer pages. I'm not sure exactly. Like I said, I'm not sure if this is in order or not. A walrus, good stuff. This is a really bad try at trying to draw Deku back in the day. But like all this stuff, oh, some of these are double-sided. That's what I was looking for in the beginning. Some of these are double-sided. You can see me start trying to play around with putting cylinders on boxes that are in perspective. These boxes I knew how to draw in perspective, so I thought maybe I'll try to expand that by putting a cylinder on it and just playing with putting people into boxes that are in perspectives that I'm already familiar with. And just more of that stuff. It's very lightly sketched, but I try to sketch a girl kind of like sitting on what would be a broom or a bike. I think it's a broom. You can see me starting to gain some of my current structure in the face a little bit in some of this. And when you watch some of the other videos, all this perspective again, just over and over and over again, this is what it takes. You got to practice this stuff. You have to do it over and over again to learn it. But you can see some of the earlier stuff in the sketchbooks that I had shown before that I didn't have this facial structure. You can even see some of it kind of breaking down here, where when I say breaking down, I mean it doesn't look like what I do now. You can see me kind of teeter-tottering between what could have been and what is now. This was a fun one, traditional, just trying out something random with the color of markers that I had at the time. This is me trying to do some studies. I've been working on an easy way to, I actually have a tutorial on my Patreon on how I study, but I've been trying to work on like a few very easy steps so that way I could sum it up in like 2 sentences on how I got to my practices and stuff like that. I actually have a whole video on how to draw anything. This was very fun, drawing these bunnies. But I have a video on pretty much the steps I did on how to draw anything, or basically simplified steps, but the steps I'm talking about, I was talking about just a second ago, were steps that are how to learn how to kind of copy something or do studies, because studies alone are already hard. And if you can do studies and then break it down, doing studies is the hard part for me for some reason. I'm just really bad at copying stuff. And I need to practice that again. But there's a lot of really fun stuff. Again, is it double-sided? You can kind of see some of this stuff I'm getting a shape that I kind of like, and even that nose that I do now a lot. And this is just part of me learning that. You can really see it here. I started doing it there. And like I said, you can kind of see me teeter-tottering when we go back to the other illustrations that you had just seen, like the noses look different. Did a whole back page on this. Doing more circles, like I said, warm-ups, getting my hand used to moving in the morning or whenever I started drawing. Is all. So you can definitely see my facial structure starting to come into fruition with these ones. The ratio. And this is one of those heavy ones that I was just doing these shapes and getting used to doing ellipses and circles, and because I noticed I couldn't even do a good circle at some points. So I wanted to get used to doing that. And I think some of this was also with my left hand, by the way. Oh, and this is towards the end of some of this. This is actually the last page, but this is basically at the end of doing a lot of this stuff. I started doing some like final sketches, and this is what I mean, where it's important to take what you've learned and try to put it into action. And this is me kind of putting it into action. I actually posted these on my Instagram at one point, and yeah, that was very fun. I thought about finishing these back then. It would even be fun to finish them now, but I might as well just move on to something new, if you know what I mean. So instead of finishing something I did so long ago, this one would have been very fun to ink. But so that was really fun. I ended up finding these somewhere near my desk, and I was like, I definitely want to show you guys these, and hope you guys liked it. But yeah, huge thanks to my patrons, and this big thanks to my tuning and joining tier patrons. You guys are awesome, and all my patrons are the best shinobis, pencil shinobis there are. If you do want to support my artses, links to my Patreon is in the description. But yeah, in any case, if you guys liked this video, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you're new to this channel, like you see, please subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notified when each video comes out. And like always, guys, hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.